Sage, can you hear us?
Now I can hear. Yep.
Perfect. So we're trying to find a meeting where we can discuss the dashboard orchestrator roadmap for Octopus.
So in 2 weeks, we can use this meeting after the face-to-face.
Sounds good.
That's what you're saying, Sebastian?
Yep, genau, exactly.
Just a question: should it be part of the Ceph dashboard face to face as a subcomponent, or just a first pass, or?
The dashboard will mainly focus on the dashboard integration into the orchestrator, so it is kind of a part of it, but we're mostly discussing the dashboard. And that actually might be a good idea.
I'm available to dial in remotely as long as it's at a semi-friendly time. I guess in the afternoon, European afternoon.
Can discuss it with Lance and give you feedback.
And then to follow up, I won't be able to make it, unless there's an opportunity to dial in. So if we follow up in this orchestrator meeting in a couple weeks, or whoever wasn't there, or be good.
Yeah, that will be also be dialed in. Okay.
I can add the Etherpad for planning purposes to chat if you like, and you can add, the topics that we would like to discuss, in those afternoon slots if you like. Added.
I think it just makes sense to have a. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
I'm going to follow up with Lance on it. The next topic is backporting to Nautilus. There were a bunch of pull requests merged by Nathan into Nautilus. There are, I think, a bunch of them still missing, but we're making progress on that front. Jean-Miguel.
Sorry, question on the backporting first.
Yeah.
Our philosophy right now is to pretty aggressively backport orchestrator changes, right? Since it's kind of the first release with orchestrator and just to get it in a better place. So that I'm assuming that's still the philosophy.
Yeah. So my goal is to have it the same source in Nautilus and in master branch as for now. That might change in the future, but I think for now it's okay if we just backport everything.
Sounds good. As we get closer to Octopus, I'm assuming we wouldn't need to at that point.
Yeah, I would like to refactor the Rook module to use JSON patch. That would introduce a new dependency to Octopus. I don't want to backport that to Nautilus, but until then, I think it's fine to backport everything.
That's good.
Miguel?
Okay, in my case, is just to solve some doubts that I have about the API for the stateless services. Is what I found that probably is due because the implementation is probably done thinking in Rook. Okay, so there are some things that for me are not clear or difficult to understand if you are not using a Kubernetes backend. Okay. First of one is that in this case we are going to be centered only in RGW. Okay. Also, I have seen that probably we will have the same kind of problems with MDS and NFS. The first thing that I have found is that, it seems that we are supposing to have a multi-cluster with, this master zone, okay? But that is intended to be configured as default, a multi-cluster with several zones. This is the first thing that I have seen. I have found in the RUC documentation information that says that, this is the default configuration, although we are not ready to manage a multi-cluster environment. So this is the first thing that I have seen a little bit strange. Maybe it could be more easy to start with something that a simple RGW configuration with only one cluster. But okay, we can start with taking into account that we are going to use this default configuration.
By multi-cluster, you mean multiple Ceph clusters or multiple RGW clusters?
As multi-cluster with multiple zones.
Yeah, multiple zones. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
To clarify, so Rook today allows you to create multiple. Well, if you create multiple object store CRDs, then you get one zone or separate zones per object store. But there's nothing that allows them to work across clusters today in Rook.
Yeah.
So is the question you're? I'm not sure I'm clear what the question is around that behavior. Does that make it hard to map into Ansible?
No, but basically is that for me it's a little bit strange that we start, for example, with a cluster without the RGW service, okay? And we are going to start from scratch. And the first thing that for me is a little bit strange is that we cannot start a configuration using the parameters that the final user wants to use. If we are going to use RGW, what we are going to create is a multi-zone RGW service with the parameters that we deem as the more ideal for default. You understand? Basically, is that final user cannot have, do not have the possibility to choose what parameters they want to use in order to create the RGW service. Okay, that's not a problem. Okay, we can start with a default configuration.
What exactly is missing?
Well, I think that you are. Let me check.
I think we need the host names, right? At least we need the host names where the daemons should run, where the service instances should run.
Well, you are using. Well, you should configure the CRD files manually. The first thing that you need to do in order to put a new RGW service is to configure the CRD files manually. And after you have done this, you can start to add daemons. Okay? So this is the first thing that for me is a little bit strange, that you need to do manually things and knowing very well how it works, the system, in order to create the service.
Oh, are you saying that you have to create the object store custom resource in Rook before
that's part
you?
Of the...
Yeah, it's just part of the orchestrator.
That's part of the orchestrator implementation. So creating the Radar's gateway custom resource is created when calling Ceph orchestrator RGB add.
Yes,
RGW
but for that you need you are using a default configuration. That's not true?
Yeah, the default configuration is right now still hard-coded in the Rook orchestrator.
Okay, so this is acceptable for the moment. The final user is not going to have any possibility to modify this kind of parameters.
Yeah, like for example, the pools are created automatically by Rook. That's why we have this Trello card, Jamika, here. Rook still creates all pools with a default configuration, and it would be nice if we can make Rook only create the daemons and use existing pools for that.
Yeah.
Okay, but for that we need more parameters in the orchestrator API. Okay, so in this moment, I think that I'm going to put here. This is the current interface that we have in the orchestrator clip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you can see that, well, we are only, in the case of, for example, add new RGW services, we should specify the name of the zone, the number of RGW services that we want to have, and the host where they are going to be installed. Okay, so I think that if we well, we can start with this, okay, but obviously if the final user has, I think that the final user should have more control about what is going to be created.
Yeah, we need that. Yeah.
Okay, so in this moment we can start with this. Okay, and well, probably we modify the interface for in another moment, no?
Modify the interface for what?
I think that that is acceptable to use this this API specification in this moment, and I think that in one moment in the near future we are going to change this specification in order to add more parameters to allow the final user to do a configuration as the final user consider okay.
Zumeke, can you create a pull request for the documentation in a way that you envision it to be replaced, so that we actually have something to discuss?
Okay, perfect. Another thing that I want to discuss is that, for example, we have a couple of methods that are called update. I think that these two methods are are okay for Rook, okay, but difficult to understand in another orchestrator that different from Rook, okay? Because with update you can do some kind of operation that is frequent in Kubernetes environments, okay, but I think that difficult to understand, for example, in the case of the DeepC orchestrator or the Ansible orchestrator. So I suggest to implement the update operation only in Rook and the add an RM operation in deep-C and Ansible.
Yeah, I think the challenge with that is that we have a collision of worlds where Rook is using declarative state and other orchestrators are not using that. So then there's different approaches. How do we get a consistent interface, right? So does that mean
our consensus in Berlin last year was that we actually use the update call to add and remove hosts based on the actual state compared to the new desired state. So that we can use update for all the different orchestrators.
I am thinking in one final user using Ansible or deep-C. I think that is more difficult to understand that. Okay, we can implement with the two methods, but I think that the meaning of the methods has sense. Well, the update method has sense using Rook because it's something that is easy to understand, but it's more difficult to understand that update is going to do the kind of operation that you want to do using Ansible or using deep-C. Because when you are using this kind of orchestrators, what you want to do is to add one new daemon, to add one new node, okay, or to remove them, okay. So what I am proposing is that, okay, I think that it's okay to have all the possibilities in the orchestrator in API, but I think that probably it has no sense to implement all the API in all the orchestrators. Maybe if we have the functionality, I think that it is completely valid to use add or RM in order to manage services with Ansible or deep-C, and to use update with Rook.
The problem with it, if we use different commands for different orchestrators, is that we then no longer can provide that functionality in the dashboard. For the dashboard, we need a very limited set of functions that is implemented by every orchestrator. So if we want to add a new interface function, I think that's not a big deal.
Yes, you are going to have the same problem, Sebastian. Imagine that you are going to use only update in order to increase the number of RTW services. With Kubernetes, you can issue the command using name and, for example, for size 2, okay? And this is all. But for the rest of the orchestrators, for deep-C and for Ansible, you will need to add a list of hosts, and this is imperative. So you need to know in the dashboard what is your orchestrator in order to issue the command.
I think adding a new command to the command line interface is not a big deal.
No, I'm not talking about that.
Like for example, adding a new daemon to an existing RGW cluster. We could add that to the orchestrator interface. I mean the orchestrator command line interface.
We have that. We have an endpoint for the add command in this moment. What I'm saying is that not all the commands have sense in all the orchestrators. In any case, for example, if you want to use update independently of the backend orchestrator, you should need to know what is your backend orchestrator in order to provide the right parameters. And so the problem exists if you use the update command And well, what I mean is that probably not all the API endpoints are usable for all the orchestrators.
That's also true.
Yeah. So today, for consistency, we assume that whatever is implemented in the orchestrator API is implemented by all of the orchestrators, and that way the dashboard can call these APIs, and it doesn't need to know which orchestrator under the covers, right?
Yeah, that's the idea behind it.
Right. So I think what I'm hearing you say, Juanmi, is that to really optimize for the storage provider, or not the storage, for the orchestrator, maybe we need a concept of whether or not an API or a method is implemented by an orchestrator. So if Ansible doesn't implement the update function because it's too complicated.
No, it's not complicated. Right. It's just to call exactly the same that we are using with add, okay? But we are going to have the same problem in all the cases. And basically the problem is with Rook, you don't need to specify hosts. But right, if you don't use Rook, you need to specify in what host are you going to install what services. And this is something that is a common problem in all the API. You need a host if you aren't using Rook. This is the real problem.
Maybe maybe we could add the concept of parameters and types to orchestrator API calls, and then the dashboard for a given call could interrogate what parameters and what types of parameters were taken by each call, and could then use that to generate some UI pieces. And so if we had different orchestrators that had, one orchestrator has a method that requires a list of hosts, and another orchestrator has the same method but doesn't require a list of hosts, then the two backend orchestrator modules could request different sets of parameters, and if that information was somehow populated up to the dashboard, then the dashboard could present an appropriate user interface without really knowing anything about the orchestrator itself.
Yes, that is one possibility, but basically what you are doing is just trying to know what is your backend orchestrator. That is what we want to avoid, okay? To work without the need to know what is our backend orchestrator. The problem...
That would be a topic that we can discuss in Fulda.
Okay.
How the dashboard consumes these APIs where each orchestrator really has a different concept behind it.
Right.
Because if one orchestrator doesn't require the node list, it seems like you would have a different UX in the dashboard around. You can skip the step to select which nodes the services go on, for example.
So in a Rook context, it actually can make sense to specify the hosts if
you want.
If you want to, yeah. So it's nothing that is impossible in the Rook orchestrator, but it's just optional in the Rook orchestrator and mandatory in other orchestrators. So there is some kind of similarity even in the Rook orchestrator case.
Okay. Yeah, so then does the dashboard require the UI around selection, or it could detect, oh, it's optional in this case, and give the user the option to skip it? I think it's how flexible can we make it detect? So the dashboard can detect.
Yeah, I think it's a thing we can discuss in Fulda.
Yeah.
Okay. More things about the RGW, the AP command in order to delete the RGW service. I don't understand very well because in this case, we have in the RM method a parameter, let me check. We have the method in order to delete services with a name, a parameter name, that in the case of RGW is the name of the zone.
Yeah.
And what this means, that we are going to delete all the daemons that are running in every host serving that zone.
Yeah.
And that has sense. It could be, I don't know, but probably if I just, well, this is in the case of another time of the Ansible or the deep sea world, no? That probably I just only want to remove one service in one host, not all the zone. Another time, this seems to be thought in order to be used only with Rook, because you have the update in order to change the number of hosts of providing this information, this service, and you have one command in order to remove completely the RGW service.
What do you exactly miss?
Well, what I think is that in the case of Ansible or Deep Sea, probably the command that has more sense is to delete, to remove the service in one node, in one host, not in all the zone.
Can you do that with the update method by supplying a list of hosts? So if you had 3 hosts in one zone and you did service RGW update and then only listed the 2 remaining hosts, then that would implicitly get rid of the third one that you didn't list anymore.
Yes, I think no, it's not a problem of doing the operation. Yes, of course, we can do the operation and remove the service in all the hosts that are serving this zone. My question is, it has sense to have the command in order to remove only the service in one host?
Yeah, that would be scaling down a zone, basically.
Yeah.
As I said, it doesn't make sense to add new functionality to the command line interface that adds and removes specific service instances. As long as the orchestrator interface keeps stable.
Okay, so I think that I should implement this to remove all the hosts that are serving that zone.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
At least in the Rook orchestrator, it does exactly that if it is implemented.
Okay.
So in the Rook case, we have a custom resource per zone. Travis.
Custom resource that's right, per zone. Each one is treated as an independent object store, different zones.
Yeah. And then by removing that custom resource, Rook is supposed to remove all parts that serve this zone.
That's right.
Okay.
So yeah, the analog in the Ansible world would be to remove all service instances for the zone.
Yes.
Yeah, by default, Rook also removes the pools that are backing that store. There's been some discussion about how we retain that data if we only want to remove the RGW services, the daemons. That's related to whether or not Rook owns the pools. Like if Rook shouldn't create the pools and only the daemons, then yeah, that's the issue we already mentioned, I guess, previously.
Okay. For me, it's okay. Just to remember that I have a pull request pending. Okay, so if you want me to do any kind of modification, or you want to do any kind of suggestion, it will be very welcome. Okay, so but let's see if we can merge this pull request.
Yeah, I've just added the needs Q8 label to it.
This is all for my part.
Travis.
Okay. Yeah, on the Rook area, just a few things to be aware of. I don't know that there's a lot to discuss, but there is an updated governance PR finally opened last night by Jared. I haven't had a chance to review it yet, but the idea around this is that more people would have push access to Rook, so we can increase the velocity around our changes. A new concept of owners who aren't full maintainers across the Rook project, but they would have push access essentially to push for their storage provider area. For example, adding a couple of new owners.
Wasn't push access the main argument for having new maintainers?
Right. So the new push access would be granted for those in the category of owners, so basically storage provider owners. And they would basically have push access for the whole repo, but their area of responsibility would be for one storage provider like Ceph. So I still need to read through it and confirm the details as discussed. But yeah, the idea is to add more with push access. We call them owners, and then there's approvers who can approve the pull requests. But the list of maintainers, there's 4 of us, wouldn't actually change right now. There will be a future update to the governance, which will just take a few more weeks probably to figure out. We create something called now I'm forgetting what we called it. Basically a committee, an oversight committee for the Rook project that kind of replaces our concept of Rook maintainer governing board.
Yeah, I think I have to read it through.
Yeah, so I read through it, but ultimately, yes, and after this PR is merged, we'll get more people with push access, and everything won't be gated on basically Alexander and I for merging pull requests.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 items I have there are basically that we want to get a patch release out this week. There's a couple of issues still that we need to resolve before it's ready. Then we'll get that out. And Rook 1.1, need to make sure the feature board is up to date. So there's a link to the feature board, project board, working on features for 1.1. We'll make sure we get those in there. Some of the major feature areas working on is So there's the external clusters connecting externally Ceph managed cluster. Seb will be working on that. Welcome back, Seb.
Is there a way to integrate that into the orchestrator?
That's a good question. Because from the dashboard, I would definitely envision that you'd want to enter the information for this cluster to be able to connect to another cluster. Whether or not the dashboard has that full access to configure remotely, I'm not sure if that would be fully supported, but anyway, some level of support to connect the dashboard would make sense. Anyway, and then a bunch of other features for 1.1, backing OSDs by PVs. Get the feature list off the top of my head, and I need to update the roadmap document 1.1. Make sure that's clear. But it's in progress, and make sure the boards are updated is what I wanted to bring up. So Seb, since you got back today, any updates you wanted to bring up here for Rook?
From my PTO?
Yeah, welcome back.
No.
I just wanted to hear your voice, right?
Okay, yeah. No, I don't have anything to share in particular. I'm mainly I've been catching up with emails, doing a bit of reviews too already. So yeah, that's what I'm doing at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, welcome back, Sebastian.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Do we have anything else? Okay.
No.
Then...
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
See you guys.
Sounds good for today.
Yep.
Okay,
Bye.
one question. We are going to keep the meeting for the next Wednesday in the morning?
I would like to skip it.
Yeah, I'm happy to skip next Wednesday too.
Yeah, we are on the social event that day, so yeah, I think I can't make it.
Okay.
I'm going to send a mail if I have not done that already.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.